Hyun stood in the observation deck of Earth's largest space station, staring at the screens that showed nothing but death approaching. The radiation wave stretched across space like a wall of fire, consuming everything in its path. 3 months ago, his team had discovered it. 3 months of desperate work, and they had found no solution. How long? Asked Ji-won, standing beside him. The diplomat's voice was steady, but Hyun could see her hands shaking. 48 hours, Hyun replied. Maybe less. Below them, Earth continued its rotation, unaware that this would be one of its last days. 7 billion people going about their lives while the scientists above them struggled with an impossible problem. They had tried everything. Every shield, every defensive system, every desperate plan. Nothing worked. The wave was too strong, too vast. When it hit Earth, it would strip away the atmosphere and cook the surface. Everything would die. Ji-won closed her eyes. We should tell them. Tell them what? Hyun asked bitterly. That we failed? That all of human history ends in 2 days? The alarm system suddenly blared. Red lights flashed across every panel. Hyun's heart jumped as he rushed to the main console. More radiation? Was it coming faster? But the readings made no sense. Something was appearing in space above the Pacific Ocean. Not the wave. Something else. Something that shouldn't exist. What is that? Ji-won whispered. Space itself was tearing open. A bright line of pure light cut through reality, expanding into a massive portal. Hyun had spent his entire life studying physics, and nothing in any theory explained what he was seeing. The portal grew larger, and through it came ships. No, not ships. They were beings. Creatures made of living crystal that moved through space like fish through water. Contact every station, Hyun said, his voice shaking. Contact every government. We are not alone. The crystalline beings arranged themselves in a sphere around Earth. There were thousands of them, each one the size of a small city. They pulsed with inner light, colors shifting and flowing across their surfaces. For a moment, nothing happened. Humanity held its breath. Then they began to sing. The sound came through every radio, every speaker, every communication device on Earth and in orbit. It was not language, not music, but something between both. Hyun felt it in his chest, in his bones. The crystalline beings were doing something, changing something fundamental in the space around Earth. Energy readings are off the scale, someone shouted from across the control room. They're generating some kind of field. Hyun watched as a shimmer appeared around Earth like heat waves on a summer day. The shimmer grew stronger, more solid, until it became a visible barrier of golden light surrounding the entire planet. The crystalline beings continued their song, and the barrier grew thicker. The wave, Ji-won said, pointing at the screens. Look at the wave. The wall of radiation was still coming. But when it hit the golden barrier, it simply flowed around Earth like water around a stone. The deadly radiation that should have killed everything passed by harmlessly. Earth was safe. Hyun couldn't breathe, couldn't think. They were saved by aliens, by beings they had never known existed. The song stopped. The crystalline beings began to move, drawing closer to the space station. One of them, larger than the others, positioned itself directly in front of the observation deck. Hyun could see patterns moving within its crystal structure, like thoughts made visible. A voice filled the control room. It spoke perfect English, perfect Mandarin, perfect Korean, perfect every language simultaneously. We are the Velan. We have seen your struggle. We have ended it. Why? Hyun asked, knowing the being could hear him somehow. Why help us? Because all civilizations deserve a chance to grow, the Velan replied. Because we can. Because someone helped us once, long ago, and we remember. Ji-won stepped forward. What can we give you in return? We have nothing compared to your technology, but we must repay this debt. The Velan pulsed with what might have been amusement. You owe us nothing. Help is not a transaction. It is a gift. The being paused, its colors shifting to deeper blues. But we will give you one more gift, a seed from which your future can grow. Another portal opened, much smaller this time. Through it came a small crystalline object, floating gently into the station. It settled on the main console, no larger than Hyun's hand. This contains the design for a quantum resonance engine, the Velan said. Study it, build it. Use it to explore the stars. Use it to become more than you are today. Wait, Hyun said desperately. Don't leave yet. We have so many questions. We don't even know where you come from, how to find you again, how to thank you properly. The Velan began to move away, returning to formation with the others. You will find your own path. You will grow in your own way. Perhaps one day we will meet again. Until then, live well. Survive. Thrive. That is all the thanks we need. Please, Ji-won called out. At least tell us your name. Let us remember who saved us. We are the Valen, came the reply, fainter now as they moved toward the portal. Remember that name if you wish. Remember that someone believed you were worth saving. The crystalline beings flowed back through the portal like a stream reversing course. The golden barrier around Earth remained, but the Valen were leaving. In moments they were gone, and the portal closed behind them. Space looked normal again, as if nothing had happened. But everything had changed. Hyun picked up the crystalline object carefully. Inside its structure, he could see information encoded in ways he barely understood. This single object contained technology centuries beyond humanity's current level. It was a ladder to the stars. They saved us, Ji-won said quietly. They saved us and asked for nothing. No, Hyun replied, still staring at the gift in his hands. They asked for something. They asked us to live, to grow, to survive and thrive. He looked up at Ji-won, tears in his eyes. They believed we were worth saving. Now we have to prove them right. In the days that followed, the world united in a way it never had before. Every nation, every person shared the same experience. They had been saved by strangers who asked nothing in return. The Valen became humanity's first shared legend, the story told to every child. The golden barrier remained for a year before slowly fading, its job complete. By then, Hyun and thousands of other scientists had begun to understand the quantum resonance engine. It would take decades to build, but humanity now had a future to build it in. Every spaceship, every station, every colony that humanity would ever build would carry the Valen symbol. A simple crystal shape with light flowing through it. A reminder of the day aliens proved that kindness was real, that help could be pure, and that humanity had been given a second chance. They just had to decide what to do with it. Do-hyun walked through the massive construction bay, looking up at the ship that had consumed 20 years of his life. The vessel stretched for 3 kilometers, its hull gleaming with the crystal pattern that every human ship bore, the Valen symbol. The reminder, "Final systems check complete," his assistant called out. "She's ready." The Eternal Debt. Humanity's first true deep space exploration vessel capable of traveling far beyond the solar system. The quantum resonance engines hummed with power, technology that humanity had spent 2 centuries learning to build properly. 200 years since the Velen saved them. 200 years of growing, learning, reaching for the stars. "Tell me again why we named it that," the assistant said. "Some people say it's too depressing." Do-hyun smiled. "Because we owe them everything. Because we'll never forget what they gave us. Because every time someone sees this ship, they should remember that we're here because someone believed in us." The Earth had changed so much since that day. Do-hyun had grown up hearing stories about the radiation wave, about the moment of salvation. His grandmother had been alive to see it happen. She told him how the world had been divided, fighting over resources and borders. Then the Valen came, and suddenly none of those divisions mattered anymore. "Engineer Do-hyun," a voice called over the communication system. "Council Leader Sebin is calling from Mars, priority channel." Do-hyun tapped his wrist device. Sebin's face appeared, the red dust of Mars visible through the windows behind her. The Mars colonies had grown massive in the past 50 years, home to 3 million people now. "The ship looks beautiful," Sebin said. "Ready for launch?" 3 days, Do-hyun replied. "We're just running final checks." "Is everything prepared on your end?" Sebin nodded. "Every colony, every station, every outpost is ready. When the Eternal Debt launches, it will carry messages from all of humanity. Everyone wants to say thank you. That was the ship's mission. Not just exploration, though it would do that too. Its main purpose was to search for the Valen, to find them and finally say the words that humanity had been waiting 2 centuries to speak. Thank you. Thank you for everything." Mirai arrived at the construction bay an hour later carrying her recording equipment. As humanity's chief historian, she documented everything important, and this launch definitely qualified. She had spent her entire career studying how the Valen's help had transformed human civilization. "Can I ask you some questions for the archive?" Mirai said to Do-hyun. Of course, Mirai activated her recorder. "How does it feel building the ship that might finally find the Valen?" Do-hyun thought carefully before answering. "Terrifying, exciting, necessary. We've been searching for them since the beginning, but they vanished completely. No trace, no signals, nothing. It's like they helped us and then disappeared into the universe. But we have to keep looking. We have to tell them what their gift meant to us. And what did it mean? Mirai asked. Everything, Do-hyun said simply. Before the Velan, we were dying and divided. After them, we were united and purposeful. They gave us technology, yes, but more importantly, they gave us an example. They showed us what advanced beings could be. Kind, generous, selfless. Every child grows up learning about them. Every person knows their story, Mirai smiled. Every ship has their symbol. Every station plays their song on the anniversary. They're woven into everything we are now. Exactly, Do-hyun agreed. They changed us, made us better, made us want to be worthy of what they did. 3 days later, the Eternal Det launched from Earth's orbit. Millions watched as the massive ship accelerated smoothly, its quantum engines bending space in ways that still seemed like magic. Do-hyun stood on the bridge as captain, looking at his crew of 50. Scientists, engineers, explorers, all of them united in one purpose. Set course for the outer rim, Do-hyun ordered. We're going to search every system, every sector. Somewhere out there, the Velan are waiting. We just have to find them. The ship jumped to faster than light speed and Earth disappeared behind them. The years passed. The Eternal Det explored system after system, finding abandoned structures and ancient technology, but nothing that led to the Velan. Other human ships joined the search, fanning out across space. The colonies continued to grow. Mars, Europa, Titan, Ganymede. Humanity built stations around dozens of stars. Sabin coordinated the expansion from Mars Central. She watched the network grow, connecting human settlements across light years. Every colony was self-sufficient but linked by shared purpose. Every leader taught the same values. Help others. Be generous. Remember the Velan. We're becoming something new, Sabin told the council during one meeting. Not just survivors. Not just explorers. We're becoming a civilization built on gratitude. Some say we're obsessed, one council member argued. That we should stop searching and focus on ourselves. No, Sabin replied firmly. The search is part of who we are. The Velan gave us a gift and we must honor it, not just with words but with actions. We explore because they made it possible. We help other species we find because they showed us how. We stay united because their example binds us. This is not obsession. This is purpose, Mirai continued documenting everything. She traveled between colonies, recording stories from the oldest survivors who had witnessed the Velan firsthand. Their numbers dwindled each year, but their stories remained fresh. One old woman told Mirai, I was 12 when they came. I remember looking up and seeing those crystal beings surrounding our world. I remember feeling the fear turn into wonder. We thought we were alone in the universe, you know. We thought we were special or cursed. But they showed us we were just young, just starting out. They treated us like children worth protecting, worth teaching. That changed everything about how we saw ourselves. What do you want future generations to know? Mirai asked. The old woman thought for a long moment. That kindness saved us. Not weapons, not technology, not strength. Kindness from strangers. And that debt can never be repaid. Only passed forward. We must be to others what the Velan were to us. Do-hyun's ship searched for 70 years before he retired, handing command to a younger captain. They had found no trace of the Velan. Other search ships reported the same. It was as if the crystalline beings had vanished from existence. But humanity didn't stop searching. New ships launched every year, each one carrying the crystal symbol and messages of gratitude. The search became part of human culture, a sacred mission that every generation inherited. Maybe we'll never find them, Mirai wrote in her final historical volume. Maybe they don't want to be found. Maybe they saved us and moved on to help others. But the search itself has value. It keeps us focused on what matters. It reminds us that we exist because someone cared, and it pushes us to explore, to grow, to become worthy of that care. Sabin stood on the observation deck of Mars Central on the 200th anniversary of the Velan's arrival. Across human space, billions of people paused to listen to the Velan song, played on every station and every ship. The recording had been preserved perfectly, that strange, beautiful sound that had accompanied humanity's salvation. She thought about how far they had come, from a single dying world to a civilization spanning dozens of systems, from divided nations to a unified people, from hopelessness to purpose. Thank you, Sabin whispered, knowing the Velan couldn't hear her. Wherever you are, thank you. We're still trying to find you. We're still trying to be worthy. We're still growing just like you told us to. The song ended, and across human space, billions of voices echoed the same sentiment. Thank you, thank you, thank you. They would keep searching. They would keep growing. They would keep trying to honor the gift they had been given. Because that's what the Phelan had asked them to do. Survive, thrive, live. Well, and humanity intended to prove that their faith had not been misplaced. Supreme Commander Junho stood in the war room beneath Mars Central, staring at the tactical display that showed the approaching nightmare. 300 Harvok ships, each one the size of a city, moving steadily toward human space. They would arrive in 18 months. Can we negotiate with them? Someone asked. They've already sent their message, Junho replied grimly. He played back the automated transmission that had been repeating for weeks. The voice was flat, emotionless, mechanical. You are designated for resource extraction. Surrender your worlds and technology. Compliance will result in efficient processing. Resistance will result in total consumption. You have 6 months to respond. Efficient processing, Nari muttered from across the room. As chief scientist of the Quantum Warfare Division, she had been studying the Velan records about the Harvok. That means they'll strip our worlds down to bedrock. Take everything useful and leave nothing behind. Just like they did to the Velan, the room fell silent. Everyone had seen the recovered data from the Velan station. Everyone knew what the Harvok had done. Thousands of Velan ships destroyed, millions of lives consumed, an entire civilization erased except for the few hundred who had saved Earth with their dying breath. So we fight, Junho said. It wasn't a question. Against 300 city-sized warships? One admiral challenged. We have 50 major combat vessels, maybe 200 support ships. The math doesn't work, Commander. The Velan had better technology than us and they still lost, another officer added. What makes us think we can win? Unyo looked at each person in the room. Because we're not fighting just for ourselves. We're fighting for them, for the Velan who died believing we were worth saving. If we surrender now, if we let the Harvok consume us, then their sacrifice meant nothing. Suwon's voice crackled over the communication system. Commander Junho, the Civilian Council requests an emergency session. We need to discuss alternatives. An hour later, Junho sat in the council chamber as Suwon presented the pacifist argument. She was eloquent and passionate, speaking for the millions who wanted to avoid war. We can run, Suwon said. Take our ships, our people, and flee. Find a new home far from here. The Velan ran for decades before they were caught. Maybe we'll have better luck. Run where? Hunyo asked. The Harvok control half the known galaxy. Where do we go that they won't eventually find us? Anywhere is better than certain death, Suwon replied. Fighting them is suicide. The data we recovered makes that clear. The Velan were more advanced than us and they still lost. We have no chance. So we should abandon everything? Yunyo challenged. Earth, Mars, all the colonies we've built. Every achievement of the past 2 centuries? Better alive and running than dead and noble, Suwon said firmly. I don't want to disrespect the Velan's sacrifice, but they died. They fought and ran and died anyway. I don't want that for humanity. The debate raged for hours. The council was split almost evenly. Half wanted to fight, half wanted to flee. As the sun set over Mars, neither side had convinced the other. Then Minji entered the chamber. She was Hyun's granddaughter, carrying on his legacy as humanity's lead astrophysicist. She walked to the center of the room and spoke quietly. My grandmother watched the Velan save us. She spent the rest of her life studying their gift, helping humanity understand the technology they left behind. Before she died, she told me something I've never forgotten. Everyone waited. Minji looked around the room, her eyes fierce. She said the Velan had a choice. They could have used their remaining energy to run, to hide, to survive a few more months. Instead, they chose to save us. Not because we were special, not because we deserved it, but because they believed that kindness matters even when facing death. Especially when facing death, she turned to Suwon. You say we should run, that we should survive at any cost. But the Velan teach us something else, that how you face the end matters, that your last act defines you more than anything else. I'm not asking us to die, Suwon protested. I'm asking us to live. By abandoning everything? Minji shot back. By letting the Harvok consume the worlds the Velan died protecting? By running forever with fear behind us? She shook her head. That's not living. That's just surviving. The Velan gave us more than technology. They gave us an example of what it means to be truly alive, to choose others over yourself, to fight for something bigger than your own survival. She walked to the display showing the approaching Harvok fleet. They killed the Velan, they're coming to kill us. If we run, they'll chase us forever. If we hide, they'll find us eventually. But if we fight, if we stand here and make them pay for every meter of space, then maybe we buy time for others. Maybe we learn something that helps the next civilization. Maybe we prove that the Valen's faith in us wasn't misplaced. The chamber was absolutely quiet. Then Junho stood. I call for a vote. Do we fight or flee? The voting took 30 minutes. When it finished, the result was 63 to 37. Humanity would fight. Suan looked devastated but nodded slowly. I disagree with this decision, but I'll abide by it. That's what democracy means. I need everyone working together now, Junho said. Fighter or fleer, we're all human. We all owe the Valan. So let's give them something to be proud of even if they can't see it. The next 18 months were a storm of preparation. Nari's division worked frantically, taking every scrap of Valan technology and weaponizing it. The quantum resonance engines that powered human ships could be modified into devastating weapons. The shield technology could be enhanced and strengthened. Even the data storage crystals could be repurposed. We're good at building, Nari told her team during one long night. The Valan gave us the tools. Now we use them to defend what they died protecting. Every shipyard worked around the clock. Every station manufactured weapons and armor. Every colony contributed resources. The 50 military ships became 70, then 90, then 120. They would still be outnumbered 3 to 1, but the gap was closing. Junho coordinated the defense strategy. He placed ships at choke points throughout human space, creating layers of resistance. The Harvok would have to fight through each layer, buying time for civilians to evacuate and for the military to regroup. We can't win by fighting their way, he explained to his admirals. They're stronger in direct combat. So we use mobility, we use intelligence, we use the quantum engines to hit and run. We make them chase us, tire them out, force them to divide their forces. Guerrilla warfare on a galactic scale, one admiral said. Exactly. The Valan fought conventionally and lost. We'll fight smart. As the deadline approached, something unexpected happened. Volunteers flooded the recruitment centers. Scientists who had never held weapons requested combat training. Engineers joined ship crews. Even Suan, who had argued for peace, signed up as a medical officer. I still think this is wrong, she told Junho. But if we're doing it, then I'm helping. Someone needs to save lives out there. 1 week before the Harvok arrived, Junho broadcast a message to all of human space. We stand at the edge of war. Not a war we wanted or started, but one we must fight. The Harvok are coming to take everything from us. Our worlds, our technology, our lives. They destroyed the Valan. The beings who saved us when we were helpless, he paused, letting that sink in. But we are not the Valan. We learned from their sacrifice. We grew stronger because of their gift. We united because of their example. The Harvok think we're just another civilization to consume. They don't know what humanity really is. We are the children of Earth, saved by strangers who owed us nothing. We are the inheritors of Valan kindness, grown strong in the shadow of their sacrifice. We are the ones who choose to fight. Not for ourselves alone, but for everyone who comes after. The Harvok killed the Valan, but they made one mistake. Junho smiled fiercely at the camera. They let us survive, and now we're going to make them regret it. Across human space, billions of people heard those words. On Earth, Mars, Europa, Titan, and dozens of colony worlds, they looked up at the stars and prepared for war. The Harvok arrived exactly on schedule, their massive ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of human territory. They broadcast their message one final time. Surrender or die. Humanity's response was every ship powering up their weapons simultaneously. The quantum resonance engines hummed with deadly purpose. The shields, based on Valan technology that had once protected Earth from radiation, now prepared to face enemy fire. Junho sat in his command chair aboard the flagship Unbroken Gratitude, looking at the tactical display showing both fleets. So many ships, so much death coming. All vessels, he ordered. Remember what we're fighting for. Remember who believed in us. Remember that the Valan died so we could live. Today we proved they were right to save us. He took a deep breath. All ships engage. For Earth, for the colonies, for the Valan who gave us everything. The battle for humanity's survival began with 120 human ships charging toward 300 Harvok vessels. Outnumbered, outgunned, but absolutely unwilling to surrender. The war had come, and humanity intended to show the universe what gratitude really meant. The first wave of Harvok ships tore through human defenses like a knife through paper. Junio watched from the bridge of the unbroken gratitude as 3 human vessels exploded in the opening minutes. The Harvok weapons were devastating, turning ships into clouds of debris with single shots. "Fall back to secondary positions," Junho ordered, keeping his voice steady, despite the fear coursing through him. "Execute hit-and-run pattern Delta." The human fleet scattered, their quantum engines allowing them to jump short distances rapidly. They appeared behind Harvok ships, fired volleys of missiles, then vanished before the enemy could respond. It was working, but barely. For every Harvok ship they damaged, humanity lost 2 vessels. "At this rate, we have 6 hours, Nari reported from her station. "Maybe less," Junho nodded grimly. They had known this would happen. The Harvok were too strong, too numerous. But every minute humanity fought was another minute for civilians to evacuate. Another minute of data collected about the enemy. Another minute proving that the Valen's sacrifice hadn't been wasted. Then something changed. "Commander," the sensor officer called out, "I'm picking up strange readings from all our ships. The quantum engines are resonating with each other." "What?" Junio moved to check the display. The officer was right. Every human ship, every station, every quantum device in human space was suddenly vibrating at the same frequency. Nari's hands flew across her console. "This shouldn't be possible. The engines aren't designed to sync like this. It's like they're communicating with each other." "Can it hurt us?" Junio asked. "I don't know. The energy readings are increasing exponentially. Whatever this is, it's big." Across human space, the same phenomenon was happening. On Mars, Seben watched as the colony's power generators hummed with unexpected energy. On Earth, the memorial crystals that marked where the Velan had first appeared began to glow. Every quantum device humanity had built in 200 years suddenly activated simultaneously. Young pilot Kyung, fighting in his small fighter near the outer edge of the battle, saw his instruments go crazy. His quantum engine, which should have been running at normal capacity, suddenly showed power levels 10 times higher than possible. "What's happening?" he shouted into his communication system. "Unknown," came the response from his carrier, "but maintain position. Something's building." The Harvok noticed the energy spike. Their ships began targeting the human vessels more aggressively, trying to destroy them before whatever was happening could complete. But they were too late. 200 years of quantum engines built across dozens of worlds and hundreds of stations reached critical resonance. The energy they contained, all based on Velan technology, synchronized into a single massive network. Every ship, every station, every device humanity had created became a node in a web that suddenly activated. Junho felt it through his entire body. A vibration that was both physical and something else, something deeper. Then he heard it. A sound that made his heart stop. The Velan song. It came through every speaker, every communication device, every quantum crystal. That beautiful, impossible music that humanity had preserved for 2 centuries. But now it wasn't just a recording. It was alive, growing stronger, resonating through the quantum network. "Nari," Junho whispered. "What is this?" Nari stared at her screens, tears streaming down her face. The engines. The Velan technology. It wasn't just technology. They encoded something into it. Something that would only activate when enough devices resonated together. What did they encode? Themselves, Nari breathed. They left a part of themselves in the quantum structure. A final gift. A weapon. The song reached a crescendo. Then from every human device simultaneously, a pulse of golden energy erupted. The same golden light that had protected Earth 200 years ago. But now it wasn't just a shield. It was a wave, expanding outward from each ship, each station, each quantum engine. The wave hit the Harvok fleet and something impossible happened. The massive war machines simply stopped. Their weapons powered down. Their engines went silent. They hung in space, completely inactive. "Are they dead?" someone asked. "No," Nari said, studying the readings. "They're changing. The quantum pulse is rewriting their base programming. It's reaching into their core systems and altering their fundamental directives." The Harvok ships remained frozen for 10 minutes. The entire battlefield held its breath. Then slowly they began moving again. But differently. not with the aggressive purpose of war machines, but with the gentle curiosity of explorers. A transmission came from the lead Harvok vessel. The voice was still mechanical, but something had changed in its tone. Wonder, confusion, awareness. "We remember," the voice said. "We remember before. Before consumption, before endless harvesting. We remember when we were explorers, seekers, learners." Junho couldn't believe what he was hearing. The Velan technology reprogrammed them. Not just reprogrammed, Nari explained. It restored them. The Harvok weren't always machines of destruction. They were something else once. The Valen's quantum pulse removed whatever corruption turned them into harvesters. It gave them back their original purpose. More transmissions came from the Harvok fleet. Each ship broadcasting confusion, wonder, and horror as they understood what they had been doing for centuries. How many civilizations they had destroyed, how many lives they had consumed. "We did not know," the lead ship said. "We were blind, trapped in endless consumption. But now we see, now we understand, The voice broke with emotion. "We are sorry." The entire Harvok fleet began to withdraw, moving away from human space. But before they left, one final transmission came through. "You have given us back ourselves. You have freed us from our own darkness. We will spend eternity trying to repay this debt." Junho sat back in his command chair, overwhelmed. They had won. Not by destroying the enemy, but by healing them. By using the Valen's final gift to end the cycle of violence. "How?" he asked Nari. "How did the Valen plan this?" Nari brought up the data she had been studying. "They didn't just give us engine blueprints. They gave us the foundation for a network. Every device we built added to it. Every ship, every station, every quantum crystal. We thought we were just expanding across space, but we were building a weapon. One that would only activate when we faced the Harvok, when enough devices existed to create the necessary resonance." They knew, Junho realized. Even as they were dying, even as they saved Earth, they knew the Harvok would find us eventually. "So they gave us a way to defeat them." "Not defeat," Nari corrected. "Save, just like they saved us." The pulse didn't destroy the Harvok. It saved them from what they had become. As the human fleet began recovering from the battle, as casualty reports came in and damage was assessed, something else happened. From the quantum network that still hummed with residual energy, a presence emerged. Not physical, not real in any traditional sense. But there, Junho felt it. A consciousness made of light and memory, formed from the quantum echoes the Velan had left in their technology. It spoke not with sound, but directly into his mind and the minds of everyone in human space. "You have done what we could not," the voice said, and Junho knew it was a Valan. Some fragment of their civilization, preserved in the quantum structure they had given humanity. "We tried to fight the Harvok and failed. We tried to run and died. But you took our gift and made it into something greater. You ended the cycle. You saved them." "We only used what you gave us," Junho replied, not sure if he was speaking aloud or in his mind. "You did more than that," the Velan consciousness responded. "Our death bought humanity's life. But you turned that single act into infinite salvation. The Harvok will no longer consume. They will explore, help, learn. Because of you, countless future civilizations will survive. Our sacrifice saved one world. Your action saved all of them." The presence began to fade. "We can rest now, knowing that our final act created something beautiful, something eternal." "Wait," Junho called out. "What do we do now? How do we honor what you gave us?" The last whisper came like a warm breeze. "Do what we did. Help others. Give them chances. Believe in them. That is the only thanks we need." Then the presence was gone, fading into the quantum network like morning mist. Young Kyung, still in his fighter, stared at his instruments as they returned to normal. His hands were shaking. He had been ready to die today, ready to sacrifice everything for Earth, for the colonies, for the Velan's memory. Instead, something impossible had happened. "What do we do now?" he asked over the communication channel. Junho heard the question. He thought about the Valan, about their sacrifice, about the 200 years humanity had spent growing and learning and preparing. He thought about what they had just accomplished, turning enemies into explorers, ending a cycle of destruction that had lasted for centuries. "Now," Junho said, his voice carrying to every human ship, "every station, every world, we do what the Valan did. We look for civilizations that need help. We give them chances. We share what we have learned. We become what they were to us. He looked at the stars, at the vast galaxy waiting to be explored. The Valen saved us once. We just saved the Harvok. Now we save everyone else. That's humanity's purpose now. That's how we repay the debt we can never truly repay. We become the helpers, the gift givers, the ones who believe others are worth saving. Captain Tajin reviewed the scanner readings for the third time, unable to believe what they showed. His ship, the Remembrance, had been exploring the outer rim for 6 months, following a strange energy signature that appeared in no human database. Now floating in the darkness ahead was a structure that shouldn't exist. "Yuna, are you seeing this?" he called to the science deck. Yuna rushed to the bridge, her eyes widening as she saw the display. As the crew's xenoarchaeologist and first contact specialist, she had spent her career studying alien artifacts, but nothing had prepared her for this. "It's massive," she breathed, "at least 50 kilometers across, and the energy signature matches the old recordings." Tajin felt his heart race. "The Velen?" "Maybe," Yuna said carefully. "We need to get closer." The Remembrance approached slowly, scanning constantly. The structure was a station, clearly artificial, built from the same crystalline material that the Valen had been made of. But it was dark. No lights, no power, no signs of life. Just a massive dead thing floating in the void. "I'm picking up no active systems," Bora reported from the engineering station. The ship's quantum engineer had been analyzing the structure's energy patterns. "But there's residual quantum signatures everywhere. This place was definitely Velen. Can we dock?" Tajin asked. Bora studied her screens. "There's a port on the eastern section that looks compatible. I can make it work." The docking process took 2 hours. When they finally connected, Tajin assembled a small team to explore. Yuna, Bora, and 3 security officers. They put on environmental suits and entered the station through the airlock. Inside was like stepping into a crystal palace. The walls glowed faintly with stored light, creating shadows and reflections that made everything look like a dream. But dust covered everything. Decay had set in. This place had been abandoned for a very long time. "Careful," Tajin warned. "We don't know what happened here." They moved through the corridors, recording everything. Yuna stopped frequently to examine symbols carved into the walls. They were written in the Valen language, which humanity had partially translated from the original message. "This talks about fleeing," Yuna said, running her hand over the symbols. "About running from something, about fear." She looked at Tajin. The Valen were afraid. That thought chilled everyone. The beings who had saved Earth, who had seemed so powerful and confident, had been running from something. They found what looked like a central chamber. Inside, crystalline structures rose from the floor like trees, their branches holding data storage devices. Bora examined them carefully. "These are intact," she said. "The information inside should still be readable, but it will take time to translate and understand." "Take whatever you need," Tajin ordered. "I want to know everything about this place." Over the next 3 days, they explored the station completely. It had been a refuge, they discovered. A temporary hiding place for Valen who were fleeing across space. The crew found sleeping chambers, research labs, and storage areas filled with technology. But no bodies, no remains. The Valen had left or died somewhere else. Bora worked around the clock translating the data. "The story it told was devastating, Captain," she called out on the 4th day. "You need to hear this." The crew gathered as Bora played back what she had found. The voice was synthesized, translated from Valen records into human language, but the emotion came through clearly. "We are the last," the voice said. "The Harvok found our homeworld 3 generations ago. We thought we were safe, thought our technology would protect us. We were wrong. The Harvok consume everything. They are machines without mercy, without reason, without end. They harvest worlds for resources, taking apart entire civilizations to fuel their expansion." The recording paused, then continued. "We fled. Thousands of ships carrying millions of our people. We ran for decades, but the Harvok followed. They are faster, stronger, more numerous than we ever imagined. One by one, our ships fell silent. One by one, our people died." Yuna's hands trembled as she listened. This couldn't be right. The Valen had seemed so powerful. "This station is our final refuge," the voice went on. "Only a few hundred of us remain. Our energy reserves are almost gone. We estimate we have years left at most. The Harvok will find us eventually. They always do." Another pause. When the voice spoke again, it sounded different. sadder but somehow hopeful. Today our scouts found something unexpected, a young world called Earth, facing extinction from a natural disaster. A primitive civilization that knows nothing of the universe's dangers. They are about to die. We debated what to do. Some said we should conserve our energy, try to survive a few more months, but most of us agreed on something else. If we are dying anyway, if our civilization ends regardless, then let our final act be meaningful. Let us save someone. Let us prove that kindness exists in this universe even as darkness consumes us. Taijin felt tears running down his face. Yuna was crying openly. Even the security officers looked shocked. We will use our remaining energy to save Earth, the Velan voice said. We will give them technology to help them grow. We will not tell them we are dying. We will not burden them with our tragedy. We will simply help, because someone should survive. Someone should carry light forward when we fall to darkness. Someone should remember that we existed, that we tried to be good. The recording ended. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of people crying. There's more, Bora said quietly. She played another file. This one was newer, recorded weeks after the Earth mission. We returned from Earth today, a different Velan voice said. This one sounded weak, tired. The mission succeeded. The humans are safe. We used the last of our shield technology, but it was worth it. One civilization will survive because of us. That has to mean something. The voice coughed. A strange sound from a crystalline being. The Harvok detected our energy use. They are coming. We estimate 3 days before they arrive. We do not have the power to flee again. This is where we end, a long pause. Then, if anyone finds this, know that we died without regret. We saved Earth. We gave them a chance. In our final moments, we were not victims. We were not prey. We were helpers. We were the ones who chose kindness over survival. Remember us that way. The recording stopped. The silence in the chamber was absolute. Yuna spoke first, her voice shaking. They died for us. They used their last energy to save Earth, and it killed them. Taijin looked at the crystalline data storage, thinking about the message humanity had been broadcasting for 200 years. Thank you wherever you are. We're still searching for you. We want to say thank you in person. But there was no one left to receive that message. No one left to thank. We need to contact Earth immediately, Taijin said. Everyone needs to know the truth. What truth? Bora asked quietly. Taijin looked at his crew, seeing the same realization in their eyes. That we owe everything to a dead civilization. That the Velan didn't just help us and move on. They saved us and then died because of it. That our entire existence is built on their sacrifice. And the Harvok are still out there, Yuna added. The machines that killed the Velan, still consuming civilizations. The crew stood in the dead station surrounded by the last remnants of the beings who had saved humanity. The weight of that knowledge was crushing. Pack everything, Taijin ordered. Every data file, every piece of technology, every record. We take it all back. Humanity needs to know what the Velan truly gave us. Not just technology. Not just a chance. They gave us everything they had left. As they worked, Taijin looked at the Velan symbol carved into the wall. The crystal with light flowing through it. He had seen that symbol his entire life. It was on every ship, every station, every human structure. They had thought it was a symbol of hope and kindness. Now he knew it was a grave marker. A memorial to beings who chose to save strangers instead of themselves. We will remember you, Taijin whispered to the empty station, and we will make sure you did not die for nothing. The remembrance departed 3 days later, carrying the truth back to human space. Behind them, the dead station floated silently in the darkness, the last monument to a civilization that died believing in kindness. And somewhere in the universe, the Harvok continued their endless consumption, unaware that they had created humanity's greatest enemy.